The stars were silent that night except for the distant hum of alien patrol ships. On the small blue planet of Earth, most people slept peacefully, unaware that the universe was watching them. But not all humans were ordinary. Among them was Ethan, a young scientist with sharp eyes and a curious mind. He had always felt out of place on Earth, dreaming of the stars and the secrets they held, far beyond the galaxy. A powerful alien empire known as the Vraxans ruled hundreds of worlds. Their ships were massive, their weapons deadly, and their intelligence unmatched. The Vraxans had conquered countless civilizations, wiping out any species that dared resist. To them, humans were weak. Fragile creatures not even worth noticing. Everything changed on a quiet night, when Ethan was monitoring strange signals from deep space. At first, he thought it was just cosmic noise, but the patterns were too organized, too deliberate. His heart raced as he realized that these signals were messages from an alien fleet. Heading toward Earth, the Vraxans were coming. Ethan knew he had little time. He tried to warn the authorities, but no one took him seriously. "Aliens here." "That's impossible," they said, dismissing his warnings as the ramblings of a dreamer. Frustrated but determined, Ethan decided to take matters into his own hands. He studied the alien signals carefully, noticing something no one else had seen. The Vraxans were powerful, yes, but their communication system had a flaw, a pattern that repeated every few seconds. If someone clever could exploit it, they could confuse the alien fleet, maybe even turn their own weapons against them. Meanwhile, the Vraxan scouts were closing in on Earth. Their ships glowed like molten metal in the dark void of space. Their commanders discussed strategy, unaware of the human who was quietly studying them from a tiny planet they considered insignificant. To the Vraxans, Ethan was nothing more than a bug in the galaxy. About to be crushed, Ethan worked tirelessly in his lab, building a small device that could send signals back to the alien fleet. His hands trembled, but his mind was sharp. He knew that if he failed, the entire planet would be lost. Using his knowledge of alien patterns, he programmed the device to mimic the Vraxan commands, but with small, subtle changes that could create confusion among their ships. The first test was terrifying. He activated the device, and far above, alien ships began to change course slightly, just as he predicted. A ripple of panic spread through the Vraxan fleet. Commands that were meant to be followed precisely now caused hesitation. One wrong move could make their warships collide or fire on each other. Ethan's excitement was mixed with fear. He was playing a dangerous game, and one mistake could end everything. But as he watched the alien ships falter, he realized that humans had a chance. One small mind with clever thinking could shake an entire empire. The Vraxan commanders were furious. "Something is wrong with the fleet." One of them roared, "It should not be possible. Humans are weak. They cannot interfere." Yet the more they tried to regain control, the more chaotic the fleet became. The very humans they had underestimated were proving to be a real threat, not with strength, but with intelligence. Back on Earth, news of strange signals and unidentified flying objects spread quickly. People panicked, but Ethan stayed focused. He knew that fear was a weapon for the enemy as well. He reached out to a small team of trusted scientists and engineers, sharing his plan. They worked together, preparing defenses and gathering every piece of information they could on the approaching alien fleet. As the Vraxan ships approached the outer edge of Earth's atmosphere, Ethan activated the device on full power. The alien ships, designed for precision and obedience, began to turn against each other. Explosions lit up the sky as some ships collided, while others fired in confusion at empty space. The humans on the ground watched in awe and terror, realizing that their planet's fate now rested on the courage and wit of one man in the command center aboard the largest Vraxan ship. The Supreme Commander stared at the chaos unfolding before him. His massive clawed hands shook with anger. How? How can a human do this? They are supposed to be weak, he shouted. But Ethan had no time to celebrate. The battle was just beginning. Every second counted, and the Vraxons would adapt if given the chance. Ethan's heart pounded as he prepared the next phase of his plan. He knew that this was only the start. If he could continue to outsmart the alien empire, he might save Earth and prove that even a single human could challenge the greatest force in the galaxy. And as the night sky burned with alien fire, one thing became clear. The unexpected war had begun, and the most unlikely hero was ready to fight. The night was still filled with the hum of alien engines, but now the Vraxan fleet was in chaos. Ships that were once precise and unstoppable now moved erratically, firing at empty space or even at each other. Ethan stood in his small control room, sweat on his brow, eyes glued to the screens. One human mind, armed with cleverness and courage, had already shaken the Empire. But the war was far from over. Ethan knew the Vraxans were smart. They would adapt quickly if he did not stay one step ahead. He studied the patterns of their movements carefully. Every slight hesitation, every repeated command gave him clues. He realized that the Vraxans were relying on a central command ship to control the entire fleet. If he could disable or confuse that ship, the rest of the Empire's war machines would be helpless. With a deep breath, Ethan activated the next phase of his plan. He sent a signal directly to the Vraxan command ship, mimicking the authority of their supreme commander. His device altered the messages just enough to create contradictions. Orders clashed. Ships that should have fired together now targeted one another. Explosions lit the space like stars being born and destroyed at the same time. On board the Vraxan flagship, the Supreme Commander bellowed in anger. Impossible. How can a human interfere with our control systems? His massive claws smashed the console, but it did nothing. The human, sitting on a tiny, fragile planet far below, had found the weak point in their perfect system. Panic spread among the alien officers. No one had ever seen this before. Meanwhile, on Earth, people watched the sky with fear and wonder. Massive explosions in orbit lit up the night, but Ethan remained calm. He communicated with a small team of engineers and scientists, giving them instructions to protect critical areas on the planet from any surviving alien weapons. Humanity's defense was small and simple, but guided by one brilliant mind. It was enough. Ethan's cleverness did not stop there. He began feeding false data into the remaining alien sensors, creating phantom fleets, fake planetary targets, and imaginary reinforcements. Every time the Vraxans tried to regroup, they found nothing. Confusion reigned. The empire that had once conquered countless worlds now struggled to understand the actions of a single human. Hours passed, and the Vraxan fleet began to retreat. Their ships limped back into deep space, battered and broken. Their supreme commander, furious and humiliated, realized something extraordinary. Humans were not weak, fragile creatures. One human had outsmarted an entire empire. One human had turned fear into hope, and cunning into power. Ethan watched from his lab as the last Vraxan ships disappeared beyond the horizon. His heart still raced, but relief washed over him. The planet was safe, at least for now. Humanity had survived against all odds, not through sheer strength, but through intelligence, courage, and determination. The world soon learned of Ethan's actions. People were amazed. News channels reported the story as a miracle. Scientists studied every signal and pattern he had used. Military leaders realized that strength alone was not enough to fight in the new age of space. Humanity had a new weapon, its mind, yet Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The Vraxans would return. They would learn, adapt, and try to conquer again. But he also knew something the alien empire had forgotten. Humans were unpredictable. Humans could think in ways machines could not. Humans could be clever, daring, and brave, even in the face of impossible odds. As the sun rose on Earth, casting golden light over cities and forests, Ethan looked up at the sky. The stars were silent once more, but he knew they were watching. Somewhere out there, the Vroxans were plotting their revenge. And somewhere out there, humans would be ready. One man had already proven that even the smallest, weakest species could challenge the mightiest empire in the galaxy. Ethan smiled. He had outsmarted the Vroxans, not with power, but with strategy, patience, and a mind willing to think differently. And in that victory, humanity learned an important truth. It is not the size of the army that matters, nor the strength of the weapons, but the strength of the mind. The war had been unexpected, the enemy seemingly unbeatable, and the stakes unimaginably high. Yet against all odds, a single human had turned the tide. And now, as the Vroxans retreated into the darkness of space, a legend was born. A story of courage, intelligence, and hope that would inspire generations. The unexpected war was over, but the age of human ingenuity had only just begun.